My name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for the Veterans Memorial and Multicultural Histories Incorporated. And today is January 15th, 2022. We are at the Hilton Garden Inn in Tampa, Florida. And sir, what is your name?
My name is Michael Edward Cook.
Okay, Mr. Cook. And what branch of the service were you in?
I served in the United States Army Reserve.
How long?
I served for 28 years.
Why did you choose that branch?
I was commissioned through the ROTC program at Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi. I received the Army ROTC scholarship to attend college. And when I got commissioned, I selected the reserve portion. I was selected to go into the reserve portion of the military.
Where were you located prior to going into the military?
Prior to going into the military, I was a student at Jackson State University, and before that I was raised and born in a place called Leesville, Louisiana, right outside of Fort Polk, Louisiana, in the southern part of Louisiana, between Shreveport, Louisiana, and Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Okay. And prior to going into the service, what were you doing?
I was a student.
You were a student?
Yeah, a student at Jackson State University.
Okay. And what were you majoring in?
I was to receive a BS degree in finance.
Uh-huh. So when you went into the military, did you have your bachelor's degree?
Yes, sir. I graduated May of 1990. I got commissioned as a second lieutenant, and then I went to Officer Basic School in August of that year to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, into the Engineer Corps.
Okay. And how long? Okay. So you went in as an officer.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So how long was which acronym do you use for the Army? OCS, OTS?
It was OBC, Officers Basic School.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And how long was that?
Officer Basic School for the Engineer Corps was 4 months. It was 16 weeks long.
Where?
It was at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Originally it was in Fort Eustis in Virginia, but it moved to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri the year before I went up there.
Okay, so, okay, I need your help because was that officer's basic training plus your job training?
Yes, sir.
Or was that in two different places?
It was the same place, but what we did was you finished your officer school and then you eventually went to your training.
Okay. Okay, so the officer school was 16 weeks, and the next part of the training was how long?
The next part of the training, when you went back to, you had to find a unit. If you was reserve, you found a unit, and so part of your unit training was to kind of get you ready for the next training, which would be later on in your career. You would go to your advanced school to learn all the technical parts of being an engineer officer.
Okay, okay. So you came back to your home,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
And I guess you also had a regular job?
Yes, sir, I did have a regular job.
And what was that?
When I first started out after OBC, I worked for Frito-Lay, the chip company in Jackson, Mississippi. I was in quality control with them.
And so you did find a base,
Yes, sir.
right? And what was that base again?
I eventually started serving in Jackson, Mississippi on the training division. In Jackson, Mississippi, they had, it was a battalion where we had all different branches, and I was a part of the engineer team.
Okay. Okay. So reserve called for you to do weekends.
Yes.
One weekend a month.
That's correct.
And 2 weeks every year.
Yes.
To go on maneuvers.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So what did you do on the weekends?
On the weekends, we would go to our reserve unit. We would train in our different MOS fields and stuff like that, and learn the different engineer corps. And I was a part of a training battalion. So my specialty was engineering. So we had to make sure that we was up on all the engineer training. So we would go out to different places, and one of our training sites would be Camp Shelby, Mississippi, right south of Hattiesburg, where we would go and train. And our summer training would be all the National Guard and Reserve units in the state of Florida and the southern states of the United States would come there for our training, and we would be watching them and making sure that they were able to do their missions.
Okay, all right. And so that was on the weekends. And tell me where the places that you would have to travel.
Basically, when I first got in, we, being the trainers, would go to the different locations. So we would go anywhere. I remember my first assignment was to go to Tennessee. So I went to Tennessee, and we sat in, back then before, if we didn't have a base that we went to maybe a school. They would run a school building, and we would give the unit different missions. And so they would sit and maneuver and work out the missions and come in and kind of brief us and tell us what they would be doing based on the scenario that we would give them. And we would sit and listen and observe them and grade them on, okay, how well did they plan the operation and everything.
Nice. And what locations? What physical locations?
Physical locations, Tennessee, other parts of Mississippi, Hattiesburg, Mississippi, at Camp Shelby. Sometimes they would come to Florida, so they would get different assignments all over the country.
Okay.
To travel and meet those units at those locations.
And where would you go for the 2 weeks out of the year?
Most of our time we would go to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, because units would come there to train, because Hattiesburg is one of the big training installations in the state of Mississippi.
Through basic training, through tech school, through officer training school, do you remember if there were any, including yourself, any injuries, casualties?
No, there were none a part of the unit, but one year during our summer training, a storm came through Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and it did affect areas. Some lightning and thundering went on. Lightning struck a tree, went down through a tree, and there's a guy who was rushing everybody into their areas, hit a soldier, and he got electrocuted. So just that kind of stuff, but nothing inside the unit. Anything.
Okay.
That one summer accident did happen.
Did you ever, were you ever sent overseas?
No, sir, never went overseas.
Okay.
They're all stateside assignments.
Okay, all right. When you were anytime that you were on active duty, on the weekends or the 2 week periods, did you ever have any problems staying in touch with your family?
No problems. I was able to call.
Okay.
I was able to, at that time when I first went in, I was single, so I didn't get married till later on, but I was always able to call and communicate with them.
How was the food?
We had pretty good food. Back then, we didn't eat at the mess hall a lot because of our job. We ate on the economy. And so we would eat outside of the base and come back in.
Got it. Okay. Please forgive me for being redundant. Why did you choose the Army? Because of the ROTC?
Yes, because of ROTC.
Okay, so it just made it a...
Yeah, and that's the only thing Jackson State had was ROTC. At that time was Army ROTC. So that's why I had that 4-year ROTC scholarship, Army ROTC scholarship.
Got you. Tell me about 2 of your most memorable experiences.
2 of my most memorable experiences being in the military was when I got selected as a battalion commander and got a chance to go back and be the commander of a unit that I had served under during my time of my military career, during my 28 years. So I was a member of that unit before I moved to Florida. So I was back in Hattiesburg, so I was a part of the training team back then. So I was very excited to get selected to go back and be the commander of that unit. And then probably my second experience was when the Haiti earthquake happened, and I was a part of the United States Southern Command down in Miami, which is called Southcom, when they got mobilized to take care of the Haiti operation when the earthquake happened, and we was able to go down there and work and help. And being in that type of command, you see how the military really works, and with all the different units all across the country that you were able to call upon to go and help that mission in Haiti.
Okay. What rank were you when you separated?
I was a lieutenant colonel.
Okay. That's you and your wife, right?
Yes, my wife is. We were both serving together. At one time when we first met, we were serving together in the same unit in Orlando. She was part of the quartermaster team, and I was a part of the engineer team. So we was in the same building, and eventually I branched off and went to another unit, and she retired as a full bird colonel.
Okay. Nice. Okay. When you were So outside of the military, in other words, aligned with your regular civilian job, what other places did you travel as a civilian?
As a civilian, basically all the southern states I've kind of been to as far as traveling and training with the military. Went as far as Chicago, Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, um, Fort Drum, New York, and some other places like that, but far off and stuff.
Okay, but what about regular civilian vacations?
Civilian vacations, my wife and I have been to the Poconos for our honeymoon, been to some southern states, been to California to visit family, went with her at one time to Seattle, Washington when she was serving up there.
Okay. Oh, you accompanied her
Yeah.
on her mission?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Right, okay, all right. Okay, let's see. Do you feel like you always had the right amount of supplies throughout your engagement, on the weekends or, on the 2-week stints? They supplied you with everything?
Yes, the military has done a fine job of making sure we had everything we needed for training on the reserve side, and then when we was deployed, we always had enough gear and supplies that nobody was lacking at that time.
Okay, so I know that you had your degree when you went in the service. Did you use the GI Bill for anything else?
Yes, I eventually received the GI Bill, and I went back and got my master's in guidance and counseling from Jackson State. At that time, when I was in, they had started letting reservists use the GI Bill, and so I took advantage of that opportunity.
Okay. So, but you never seen any combat?
No, sir, no combat.
Okay.
No, sir.
Medals and citations.
Received different medals from anywhere from the PT awards to the ARCOMs, the AMSA, and a few for being deployed from the Haiti mission. They gave us some awards after that time, after the Congress passed that you would get different awards. As far as name-wise, I don't know all the names of them.
Okay.
Sorry.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So, were you involved in any logistical planning?
Yes, when I was a part of the that Haiti mission, yeah, we had to do a lot of logistics there because the part I learned about there is we have all types of units in the military, both National Guard, Reserve, and full-time that do different things. So we had to really look at the big board and see what all we needed for Haiti. So say for instance, airplanes come in and as they land, they always scraping the targets on there. So they have units that go to those airports and clean them up for us. So
right.
we found a unit, had to deploy them down there, and they sleep during the day and work at nighttime because no aircrafts are coming in. So part of those logistics is setting up, getting the Navy ships down there to store all the food for us, and so we could get it distributed, set up convoys to go different locations. So that part of the logistics, I did work on.
Okay. Oh, just to go back for a minute, when you were in the initial stages of your military career, what were your instructors like? What were they like? How did they treat you? How did you get along with them? And as a matter of fact, to include in that, how did you get along with your fellow officers as well as enlisted?
Well, we all had basically a good operation. When I first joined, I really didn't know much about the reserve, so I was kind of fresh out of college, fresh out of advanced school, and I joined this unit. And our first AT, we went and joined the unit. The colonel interviewed me, accepted me, and told me, okay, hey, we need you to meet me in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and this is the building we're gonna be at. So I'm like, okay, good. I got a unit, so I got to get all my gear together. And so when I met them, they all welcomed me with open arms, being a second lieutenant. And so they always treated us gentlemen's course, as we say. When we went to school, they were always called gentlemen courses. So you got treated very well. The instructors taught the courses very well, and some ex-military So if you didn't have a lot of the knowledge and skills that they needed, they really took the time out to help you learn and help you gather the information that you really needed.
Okay. Do you feel like you ever experienced any discrimination in the military?
Not at the beginning of when I first went in, but I would say probably the latter part of my career, you kind of start, the higher you get up, the discrimination kind of falls because it's less blacks and less opportunities for us. So I kind of started seeing it at the latter part of my career.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. I'm not sure if I asked you or not. Well, anyway. Did I ask you for two of your most memorable?
Yes, sir.
I did, so we got that done. All right, great. All right. Do you still, you ever keep a diary about your military career?
No, sir, I did not keep a diary of it.
Okay. And have you retained any friendships from the military still?
Yes, I have. Still keep in contact with some of the engineer guys who I served with on the different engineer teams. We had been together for a long time, and by me being their leader, we still talk. One guy is local here in Tampa, a Sergeant First Class Mace, Don Mace, that we talk all the time. And a couple of other guys who are part of the engineer team, we talk from time to time, and we text each other, check on you during the holidays, the birthday texts and stuff like that. So I do keep in contact with most of the fellows that did serve with me.
Oh, good, nice. You belong to any other military organizations?
No, not members of military organizations, but do know about them. And then, like I say, some of the guys who I communicate with, they call me. One of my past jobs, I used to work for the Department of Veteran Affairs. So when they have questions about VA and just general military stuff, they'll call me still to get information, but have not joined any specific organization.
Was Frito-Lay the only job that you had?
No, sir. I've taught in the school systems. I taught math when I first back when I first started in the military. So I was a school teacher for several years, and then went back and got my master's degree from Jackson State in Guidance and Counseling, and then I moved to Florida, where I took a job in the school system as a counselor. Then I was also a football coach, and then from there moved to Tampa, still taught school. Eventually went to the college level and became an advisor for students at Hillsborough Community College, where I worked up to be a counselor. Eventually left there and went to Pasco Hernando Community College in Dade City, Florida, here up north of Tampa, and became a dean of students. So I worked that job, and then eventually I left and crossed over to the military, where I started working for the Department of Veteran Affairs on the benefit side, and worked there for about 5 years in the benefit side, and learned that job well, that I still kind of help people to make sure that they're getting their benefits and stuff, make sure answering questions for them, and have worked on the health side of the VA for about 6 years. So the hospital side, so I worked in two parts of the VA, and now I'm currently going to move next week and work for the Department of Defense in the Family Readiness Division of the Florida National Guard.
Wow, incredible. Okay, let's see. Okay, so, all right, well, is that, so, yeah, that was like your other 20 careers.
Yes, sir. And what my friends say, one of my 9 or 10 jobs, like you said earlier today, I think you said 30, so about 9 or 10, yes, sir. When you said that, I started laughing, like, oh, golly, you sound like somebody harassing me about jobs.
There you go. Whatever it takes, right?
Yeah, to stay busy. That's the good part. That's what people don't understand. You stay busy.
Right.
And so they think you're overworking yourself. It's, oh, you work too much. No, I'm enjoying life.
There you go. There you go. Okay, did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
No, I was always had a good feeling about the military because where I grew up at. I grew up around a military base and would see soldiers and families come to our area, become a part of my church, and so I had the opportunity to talk to them. So I always had a good feel because when I was growing up, I was a baby during Vietnam, but I didn't, we wasn't affected by it. But then after Vietnam, the military went for years without deployments. So you would see soldiers as training and kind of honing up their skills.
Right.
So I met a lot of people that way and got into ROTC in high school and learned everything then. So just always had a good perspective about the military. So really didn't run into the basically deployments until I got to in my college years as we kind of started deploying more. So I always had a good feel about the military because they were taking care of a lot of countries. We were doing humanitarian missions then a lot. So you would see those guys leave off and build roads in foreign countries and any kind of disasters that would happen. So I was always used to that part.
Okay. I'm not sure if you really answered this. What did you think about your fellow officers?
My fellow officers, they were all good fellows there. They always gave advice, especially when we came in. So it was always take care of the younger soldiers who would come under you to make sure you share all your knowledge. And so those guys always shared their knowledge with me, both black and white officers in the Corps,
right?
The Engineer Corps. We were always pretty good. When I went to officer basic school, like I said, I was commissioned engineer officer, but I was a finance major in school, so that was a learning curve for me. But the guys at West Point make sure that they took care of us and they tutored us if we had trouble learning, because the engineering and finance, as you know, is two different fields. And so I always asked, okay, why y'all put me in engineering? Oh, because we thought, being a finance major, had that good thinking background. And so I'm like, no, I didn't have any knowledge of engineering, what really engineers do, until I got to that officer school. But like I said, the guys at West Point really took care of us and took us under the wings, all the black officers and other white officers who struggled some.
Right.
They took care of us, so that showed that they cared about us. And this was an operation that you learn that you start together, you finish together. And then engineering, you learn about the bridges and all of that. So that means everybody has to work together. It's not one person, it's a group of people. So we would fellowship together on weekends, fellowship in the afternoons together, but it was a very good camaraderie amongst everybody at that school and outside of the school on the weekend drills, during the week and stuff. And so it was a very good family type of atmosphere.
Right. Nice. Okay. How did your service and experiences affect your life?
Overall, it gave me a better appreciation of serving and taking care of people. With the different missions, like when I went on the Haiti mission, and you watch that situation that happened. So an earthquake can happen and just wipe out a whole country, and then you see things that go on in the military, then you learn, okay, hey, how can I be a better citizen, or how can I make sure that we're taking care of what we're supposed to do? So as a commander, you learn to try to take care of your troops, and you try to make sure that they're doing the right things and make sure that their families are protected. So being a part of that mission and then seeing these Haitians struggling, seeing what the United States was doing for them, and we'd be able to bring everybody together, and part of that is still a part of me, because I want to make sure that all my soldiers were taken care of, and we all work together to make sure that people get the right information, that they don't miss out on anything as far as benefits, money out there and stuff. So I've always tried to stay ahead to make sure that, hey, I'm giving out good information to people and make sure that they get everything that's rightfully deserved of them.
Okay. From your professional and personal perspective, what would be one or two things that you consider to be the most important message to share with the civilian population regarding the military?
The military is a organization, a huge organization with many different entities and many hands they go into the military to make it work. So one of the things that I would tell people that it's a family affair. At the end of the day, we're protecting and serving our country, to take care of our country and to help other countries who are not as strong as we are. So we are giving back and we are working 24/7 because the mission is always going on and there's conflicts all over this country. So to don't look at the military, don't look at the government as being one as we're going and putting our print on another country, but looking at we're going to help another country that is not as strong as we are, and hopefully we leave them better than we find them. In some situations we have not, but overall at the end of the day, the communication of the military, the teamwork, the camaraderie of the military is really where this country really needs to be in every facet. That hey, we all may look differently, our uniforms may be different, but we all communicate, we all work together to take care of the mission, take care of families, take care of soldiers, take care of other countries to keep this thing working. So overall, the military is a great opportunity. And sometimes I think that our young people should at least serve 2 to 4 years in the military just to learn basic life skills that our school systems don't always teach them, or they don't learn because they don't have it. And in a lot of foreign countries, you're obligated to serve in the military. So I think the United States eventually should maybe look at that. I know the draft was a different situation for our men and women who were drafted, but nowadays giving back and learning how to work together as a team, I think would help the overall country, because our young people really don't know what it is to serve. And when you go in the military, you find out all your strengths and weaknesses, and you learn how to become a better leader. And that's what the military has always taught, and it really invested in making people better leaders and stuff. And then the people who you don't think are leaders sometimes rise up to be great leaders, and some do fall by the wayside. But overall, the military puts a lot of money, puts a lot of training into it that makes that whole boat move one way, because it can't be going different ways. Everybody doing different ways. We all learn to work from A to Z to complete that mission.
Get that very same opinion from quite a few people lately. I mean, it's always been that, especially from those of us who've served, when you look at young people today, the discipline.
Yes.
One word covers it all that they don't have.
That's true.
So, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Just to say that this project that you're doing, hopefully will encourage others to say, hey, I like the military, let me go talk to the military. Or you see a veteran, someone who served before you, to thank them for their service. And just recently, as we know, we celebrated the 80th year of Pearl Harbor. So I have an uncle who is 90 years old. I talked to him a few weeks ago. I said, Unc, do you remember? I said, now you're 90, so you were 10 years old during Pearl Harbor. Do you remember anything about Pearl Harbor? Do you remember the day Pearl Harbor happened? And he started laughing. And so as we were talking, he says, you know, we lived so far out in the woods that we didn't get the information 3 or 4 days later, because we didn't have a TV. We had a radio, but we didn't listen to it. So somebody had to come and tell us the news. But to see the different times and the way this country was formed, everybody in different areas, so things happen, so everybody don't get the same news. And so sometimes sharing that news with people or talking about it kind of lets people see the overall military, to see what has happened to us, see what we're doing. And so just that sharing that information, thanking the older veterans, because those numbers are going down. So really thanking them for their service and their leadership to pave the way for us, because you all have done a great job to mold this country and to mold the military. And so we working hard. The younger people that's coming up behind you is military. And so we working hard. The younger people that's coming up behind you, it's our job to learn from you all and try to be the examples that for others who follow behind us on a daily basis.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for a great interview, and I want to thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir, for yours also.
You're welcome.